Seriously, you all really need to see this before it's too late. About a year and a half ago, the Thargoid Maelstroms arrived near the bubble. Venturing inside these clouds is an incredible experience, but if you want to see the gigantic mothership that lurks within, you better hurry. We've recently been given the ability to do damage to these Thargoid Titans, and the community, as usual, has started blitzing through them. I wouldn't say it's long before these Thargoid Titans are a thing of the past. This video will cover shipbuilding, getting inside a Maelstrom, and doing damage to a Titan. Any ship can make it inside the Maelstrom, but you'll be safer in one with high speed and a good number of utility mounts. Also, some of you might want to do damage to the Titan once you're inside, which requires a few more specific modules. With that in mind, these are some cheap choices I'd recommend just for getting into the Maelstrom, and these are the ships I'd recommend for doing damage to the Titan. I'll leave EDSY links below to all of these builds. If you feel like messing around with your ship, feel free to use these lists of essential and helpful modules. Note that the modules in green can only be purchased at a rescue megaship. You can find one of these in any system that has this logo in the galaxy map. It's also worth mentioning that any Guardian module besides the Guardian Nanite torpedo quickly becomes inoperable when you're in the Titan system. Because of this, I wouldn't recommend putting any Guardian modules on your ship. Engineering is not at all required to get into the Maelstrom or to do damage, but if you'd like a slightly easier time, these are my recommendations. Also, this process is made far easier with convenient fire groups. This is what I've found works well, but feel free to modify it to your preference. Use the Thargoid War section of your galaxy map to find your nearest Titan. Note that if you're wanting to do damage, you might want to head to the Titan with the lowest damage resistance, as this is probably the one the community is actively working on. If the damage level shows destroyed, then that Titan has already been blown up, meaning that you won't be able to access it, at least at the time of the recording. Once you've picked your Titan, and you get within a few systems of the Maelstrom, you might be ripped out of hyperspace during a jump. This is an awesome moment, but it can be scary the first few times. Of course, you could try and fight the Thargoids that pulled you out, but my advice is to point the nose of your ship at the destination, put full pips to engines, and keep on boosting. As long as your ship has a decent top speed, the bugs won't pose much of a threat. After arriving in the Maelstrom system, look for the Titan in the navigation panel, or the system map if you can't find it. On your way to the Maelstrom, you'll probably be interdicted by more Thargoids. These interdictions will probably be harder than anything you've faced before, so I'd suggest setting your throttle to 0, causing you to forfeit the interdiction. The benefit of doing this is it makes your FSD cooldown far shorter, allowing you to get away from your attackers quicker. When you finally make it to the Maelstrom, then your troubles really start. At this point your sensor becomes fairly useless, so from here on I'd rely on what you see rather than your compass. When you're ready to go, put your pips to engines and systems, set your fire group to pulse neutralizer and caustic sync, and start boosting toward the centre. At this stage of the process, there are 3 main dangers: the caustic shards, the caustic build-up, and the dreaded pulse. We'll go over these one at a time. Caustic shards are relatively easy to avoid. Just look out for these shapes through your windscreen. If you happen to get too close to one, it'll violently explode. With that in mind, I'd suggest giving them a wide berth. You might also spot a Thargoid interceptor near one of these shards. Again, just leave him alone and keep on boosting. Once you get a little closer to the centre, caustic damage will start to build up. To protect against this, keep an eye on the caustic sink progress bar and fire one off when it fills up. As long as you don't run out of caustic sinks, this should keep you adequately protected. The most annoying thing to deal with is the Thargoid pulse. At some point, whilst nearing the core of the Maelstrom, you'll hear a loud noise, followed by a pale green sphere expanding towards you. Make sure you have a few pips to systems, and when the sphere has nearly reached you, deploy your neutralizer, holding onto the trigger. Note that this module only protects you whilst the bar is filling up, so timing is absolutely key. This part might take a few tries to get right, but it's definitely doable with a little practice. Once you've dodged all 3 of these threats, you should eventually start to see some asteroids, followed by a gigantic octagonal craft emerging from the fog. From this point on, I'll be showing footage of the Titan itself. If you haven't seen a Titan yet, I'd urge you to give this a go for yourself before watching this part of the video. But if you don't care about spoilers, or you need some help doing damage to the Titan, then stick with me. There are 3 main activities to do once you're in here: research, extracting escape pods, and damaging the Titan. I'll be focusing on the last of these options, as it's the most action-packed, and for me the most enjoyable. It doesn't hurt that this option offers ARX rewards, as well as an exclusive ship kit, paint job, and decal unique for each Titan you help destroy. As you fly toward the Titan, it'll begin firing at you with its red cannons and caustic missiles. The best way to avoid these is to stay cold with a thermal vent beam and move fast. While this is the best way to avoid all damage, I'm not patient or skilled enough to do this effectively. So what I do is I just use a decent shield, throw a few pips into systems, and move quickly. I may not last as long as the cold running build, but I find this a lot more manageable and I don't mind paying a rebuy once in a while. Feel free to use either method or just experiment and make up your own. You might notice that the top side of the Titan has 8 cone-shaped structures that look a little like volcanoes. These are the Titan's heat vents, which are what you need to hit. Set your fire group to your Nanite torpedoes, line yourself up with one of the vents and wait for it to open. When it does, target it and fire off your Nanite torpedo. Then you can boost towards the next heat vent, firing a torpedo into that one, and so on. These torpedoes are guided, so you don't need to worry about aiming them perfectly. This bit of the process is really fun, especially with a friend. It's quite hard not to roleplay it as your own little trench run. After firing as many torpedoes as you can, the heat vents should close. When they do, boost over to the underside of the Titan and ready your anti-Xeno hardpoints. Eventually, you should see this message, followed by a small glowing pillar extending from the centre of the craft. Target this and begin to fire your AX weapons. You'll notice you begin to heat up quickly in this area, so if you have one, use your thermal vent beam or heat sinks. Do as much damage as you can to the thermal core before it sinks back into the craft. When it does, you should receive a few credits for doing damage to the Titan. I believe you get more credits if the Titan you're attacking is weaker, so you could get far more or less than I got. This is where things start to get quite dangerous. The Titan will get the ball rolling by turning blue and creating a huge beam of power. This can do you some decent damage, so I might suggest moving away from the Titan. This is probably one of the best looking moments in the game. Seriously, you all really need to see this before it's too late. Now you're free to start again if you want. Hit the heat vents, then swing underneath and attack the core. In order to receive your arcs, ship kit and decal rewards, Frontier said in a forum post that you need to earn 2 million credits from damaging the Titan and attack the Titan within a week of it going into meltdown. You'll get your rewards once the mothership blows up, a sight which I heartily recommend you see firsthand. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Hold on to your space legs and don't forget your limpets. Until next time, it's goodbye from Commander Dituri.